What if I told you the chaos in the Middle East isn't a failure of American foreign policy? It's the goal. Every decade, a new war, a new crisis, a new reason for American troops, American weapons, and American banks to show up. Coincidence? I don't think so. And by the end of this video, neither will you. Here's the question most people never ask. America is the most powerful nation in the history of the world. It has the most advanced military, the most sophisticated intelligence agencies, the most experienced diplomats. So why, after 80 years of involvement in the Middle East, has it never actually fixed anything? Think about that. 80 years, trillions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of lives, and the region is more unstable today than it was in 1950. Either America is catastrophically incompetent, or the instability is working exactly as intended. I'm going to show you it's the second one. But to understand why, we have to go back, way back, to a moment in 1945 that most history books gloss over in a single paragraph, because that one moment set the entire blueprint for everything that came after. It's February 14th, 1945. World War II is almost over. Franklin Roosevelt, the most powerful man on earth, has just left the Yalta Conference with Stalin and Churchill. He's exhausted. He's dying. He has maybe 2 months left to live. But he makes one final stop. On a warship called the USS Quincy, anchored in the Great Bitter Lake in Egypt, Roosevelt meets with a man named Abdulaziz ibn Saud, the King of Saudi Arabia. This meeting is not widely taught in schools. It should be. In that meeting, a deal was struck, one of the most consequential deals in modern history. America would guarantee the security of the Saudi royal family forever. The U.S. military would protect the House of Saud from any external threat, any internal threat, any rival. In exchange, Saudi Arabia would price its oil in U.S. dollars. Only U.S. dollars. That deal, sealed on a warship in 1945, is the foundation of American dominance in the Middle East. It's called the petrodollar system. And once you understand it, everything else makes sense. Here's how the system works. And pay close attention, because this is the part they really don't teach you. Oil is the most traded commodity on the planet. Every country needs it. Every country buys it. After 1945, and then fully after 1973, America locked in a system where every country in the world had to use US dollars to buy oil, not pounds, not francs, not rubles. Which means, if you're Japan, or Germany, or India, or Brazil, before you can even buy oil, you have to first acquire US dollars. How do you acquire dollars? You buy U.S. Treasury bonds. You invest in American financial markets. You do business in ways that funnel money back into the American economy. The entire global economy becomes a machine that generates demand for American currency. This is why the dollar is the world's reserve currency. Not because America is the most virtuous nation. Because America controls the fuel that runs every economy on Earth. But here is where things took a dark turn. What happens when a country decides to stop using dollars for oil? What happens when a Middle Eastern leader looks at this system and says, "We don't need to play by these rules"? I'll tell you exactly what happens. They get destroyed. Let me show you a pattern. 3 leaders, 3 different countries, 3 different decades. Same ending. Mohammad Mossadegh was the democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran. Time magazine's Man of the Year. In 1951, he had one idea that terrified the West. He wanted to nationalize Iran's oil. Take it back from the British Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which is now called BP, and give the profits to the Iranian people. The Iranian parliament voted for it. The Iranian people loved him. Washington called it a communist threat. In 1953, the CIA and British intelligence ran Operation Ajax. They paid Iranian generals, hired mobs, staged riots, and overthrew a democratically elected government. Mossadegh was arrested, put under house arrest for the rest of his life. And a compliant Shah, who would keep the oil flowing to Western companies, was placed back on the throne. Democracy? Destroyed. Because of oil. In the year 2000, Saddam Hussein made an announcement. Iraq would no longer accept dollars for its oil. It would accept euros. Think about what that means. If other OPEC nations followed, the petrodollar system starts cracking. The demand for US dollars falls. American economic dominance weakens. Within 3 years, Saddam Hussein was the target of a full American invasion. The stated reason? Weapons of mass destruction. You know how that turned out. No weapons were ever found. But the first thing the American military secured in Baghdad, before hospitals, before government buildings, before anything, was the Iraqi oil ministry. And within months of the invasion, Iraq's oil was back on the dollar standard. Coincidence? Now, Gaddafi. This one is the most audacious. Gaddafi had a plan. He called it the gold dinar, a single pan-African currency backed by gold that African and Arab nations would use to trade oil. No dollars, no euros, no IMF, no World Bank. He had been stockpiling gold for years. Libya had one of the highest gold reserves in Africa. He was months away from launching this currency when NATO intervened in the Libyan civil war. Hillary Clinton's leaked emails, released years later, explicitly mentioned Gaddafi's gold and his plan to challenge the dollar as a motivation for intervention. Gaddafi was captured and killed in October 2011. Libya, which once had free healthcare, free education, and subsidized housing, is now a failed state with open slave markets. 3 leaders, 3 attempts to challenge the petrodollar, 3 destructions. Now, do you still think this is about democracy? About human rights? About terrorism? Here's the second layer. Because this goes even deeper than oil. War is profitable. The United States spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined. That money doesn't disappear. It flows into companies. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing Defense, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics. These are publicly traded companies. They have shareholders. They have lobbyists in Washington. They donate to political campaigns on both sides of the aisle. Every time there's a conflict in the Middle East, their stock prices go up. Every time America sells weapons to Saudi Arabia, to Israel, to the UAE, billions of dollars flow through these companies. Saudi Arabia alone has bought over $100 billion in American weapons in the last decade. Now ask yourself, what happens to these companies if there's lasting peace in the Middle East? Their revenues collapse. This is what President Eisenhower warned about in 1961, a 5-star general, Supreme Commander of Allied forces in World War II, the man who knew the military. He called it the military-industrial complex, he said. Beware of the undue influence of the defense industry on American policy. That was 1961. Nobody listened. Now we come to the third piece of the puzzle, Israel. I want to be precise here, because this topic gets emotional fast. This is not about whether Israel has a right to exist. That's a separate conversation. This is about strategic utility. America gives Israel $3.8 billion in military aid every single year. Guaranteed. By law. Why? Because Israel is America's most reliable, most capable military ally in a region where America cannot, for political and logistical reasons, station unlimited troops permanently. Israel is, in strategic terms, an aircraft carrier that cannot be sunk. It projects American power into a region where American presence is politically toxic. And here is the cold logic. If Israel makes peace with all its neighbors, normalizes fully with the Arab world, reaches a genuine 2-state solution, its strategic value to the United States diminishes. America's leverage in the region diminishes. The military aid dependency diminishes. Peace is not in everyone's interest. That is a brutal truth. But it is the truth. So here's the answer to the question we started with. Why does America never let the Middle East have peace? Not because American people are evil. They're not. Not because every president is a cartoon villain. They're not. It's because a system was built in 1945 on a warship in Egypt that made American economic dominance dependent on Middle Eastern instability. The petrodollar needs compliant governments. Compliant governments need to fear something. Fear requires the constant threat of chaos. Oil companies need access. Arms companies need wars. Intelligence agencies need relevance. And politicians need donors. Every single one of those interests is served by not having peace. The Middle East isn't broken. It's been kept broken. And the machine that keeps it broken is not hiding. It's in plain sight, in quarterly earnings reports, in congressional budgets, in campaign finance disclosures.